Hi, I'm Fraser Douglas, the avid tent camper. In this video, I want to tell you about our recent trip to Fort Pickens Campground near Pensacola, Florida. Last winter, Ava, her family, and I planned a big 5-day camping trip down to Fort Pickens Campground near Pensacola, Florida. And we decided to all travel in one car and pack our camping gear on this utility trailer. So on Monday, Memorial Day, we got up at 5 a.m. and headed down to Pensacola Beach. The Fort Pickens Campground is located on the far western tip of Santa Rosa Island, a barrier island in the Gulf of Mexico that is a part of the Gulf Islands National Seashore. After several stops along the way, we arrived at 1 o'clock in the afternoon and checked in for our campsites. The campground has 210 campsites divided into 5 loops. Loop A is a standalone campground that has water and electricity at all sites, but the most important thing to know is which sites have live oak trees that can provide cooling shade during the hot summer days. And so I have circled the site numbers of the sites with the live oak trees. Loops B and D are located on the west side of the main campground. These sites do not have electricity and typically attract tents, but they do have a very nice bathroom. And again, I have circled the sites with live oak trees that provide cooling shade on those hot summer days. For example, this is site D11 that was just behind our campsite, and here it is again with a different family. I didn't mark site D2, but it does get a little bit of shade. But most of the sites in these 2 loops have no trees and are unbearably hot during the middle of a hot summer day. The sites in the middle of these 2 loops also flood on rainy days. Loop C and E are located on the east side of the main campground, and each site does have electricity, and there are 2 nice new bathrooms. These sites typically attract RVs, but you will find a significant number of tent campers that camp in these sites also. This is site C1, and notice that it has both an RV and a tent. This is site E65, where Ava and I camped under a live oak tree about 8 years ago. And this is site E17. I first visited this campground around 1982 when my sons were around 10 years old, and over the last 37 years I have returned here about 10 times. This photo was taken during a trip in 1992. This photo was taken around 1998 of our campsite in either E26 or E28. The photo was taken before a series of hurricanes in the early 2000s knocked down all of the pine trees in the campground and destroyed the road leading out to the campground. This was our site in either E13 or E14 after the hurricanes. On this year's trip, Ava and I were fortunate enough to get site D3, which has a very nice live oak tree. So we set up our tent on the back side of this tree, and we set up our kitchen on the front side of the tree. Ava's family set up their camp on site D8, which had a few pine trees, but not much shade. Our daily routine began by waiting for everybody to get up and get moving, and then eating a little snack or breakfast. Then we drove to a nice beach on the Pensacola Bay side of the island where there was nice concrete shelters, calm water, and lots of children for little Lalo to play with.
Aquí disfrutando de unas ricas vacaciones. Sí, quién sabe cómo salía, pero sí.
Around noon, when the temperatures got into the mid-90s, we started looking for places with air conditioning, such as restaurants, malls, and movie theaters. One day I was very happy to find this 120-year-old cast iron griddle in a large antique mall. Friday afternoon was not quite so hot, and so we decided to explore the Pensacola Beach fishing pier, where we got a nice view of Pensacola Beach and watched a few fishermen trying to reel in the big fish. When the temperatures began to drop about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, we went to another beach on the Gulf of Mexico side of the island. Friday afternoon, after strolling on the Pensacola Beach fishing pier, it looked like rain was coming, and so we went back to our campsite.
Y que no llueve. ¡Ay! Y que no llueve. Mira, todo cabe en un... ¡Ay! ¡Ay, Alfredo! ¿Dónde está el carro? Hay un camioneto. Sí, pero el carro, allí te va a caer agua, esto se abre. ¿Dónde la cae? Oh my God.
What? Yeah, I know. We'll have to clean it up.
Y que no llueve.
Usted ya caliente.
Y que no llueve.
¿Ah? Bueno. ¿Pica de viento? After sundown, we came back to our campsite and hung out. We prepared a little food. We also played dominoes and card games. and just enjoyed spending the time together. Lalo and his two older brothers enjoyed riding their bicycles around the campground and watched a few videos on their electronic devices. About 8 or 9 o'clock, we took our showers and then began getting ready for bed. Every night we slept with the rainfly off and with a fan running, but our fan motor burned out after 3 nights. This photo was taken from a bed looking up through our mesh ceiling at the live oak tree above our tent. Other than the midday heat, it was a pretty good trip, but I got about 25 bug bites on the first day of the trip that itched more than any bug bites I've ever had before. At first, I thought they were mosquito bites and would go away after a few hours. But when they lasted for 5 days, I began to suspect that they were chiggers, and as soon as we put the clear fingernail polish on them, they stopped itching.
Well, I hope that you've enjoyed this video, and I hope it motivates you to consider this campground if you're ever down in the West Florida area. It's a wonderful campground.
Before concluding, I want to say thanks to Esther Martinez, my wife Ava Douglas, and my daughter-in-law Lupita Diaz for sharing their videos and photos that they took during this trip. For more information about great tent camping destinations in the eastern United States, great tent camping equipment and procedures, please visit my website, moderntentcamping.com.
Remember, take more trips, travel further, visit more attractions, and save money. Go tent camping.
Yeah, I know.